hear live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game.
Come on!
They're just inevitable. They're Thanos. It's just the Kansas City Chiefs are one of the greatest teams we've ever seen. And that was like a B- grade for them last night. And they still, not comfortably, but got dicey at the end, but they won that game. And they controlled that game for the most part. I'm not going to get into the refs. Not going to get into all that. Sean Hockley, just like his dad, likes to hear his own voice. It's all right. I'm on radio. I like to do the same. And I want to hear your voice at 888-957-9570. Good morning to all you lovely people. It's Friday. You made it. It's a non-payday Friday, but it is a Phil Collins Friday nonetheless. So we will be worshiping at the altar of one Phil Collins a little bit later in the show. And man, football's back. That's really the overarching theme of today. We got football. We got all the listeners that won the contest with Breakfast of the Roast coming in from 8:30 to 10. Cannot wait for that, to say what's up to all those people, all of you lovely people, because a lot of the pre-gamers shift over into the morning roasters. Appreciate all of you guys. So anyone that won that, cannot wait. You're probably not even up this early if you're going to that. God, I hope not. Unless you're just beaming with excitement to see Sam Lubin, myself, Bonte Hill, Joe Shasky, and the great Matt Nahigian, of course. I'm sure he'll be making an appearance, because why not? I saw him posting last night. Maybe we got some sound from Nahigian a little bit later, too. But I was watching the game last night, and it's funny because you can view games in certain lenses, right? When it's not your team, you probably got fantasy stuff going on. Maybe you got a bet going on the game. Maybe you just want to see, if you're a Niners fan, what's the gap between us and the Chiefs, right? It can't be big. We might be better than them. We should be, right? We have more depth. We were up double digits against them twice in a Super Bowl with two different quarterbacks, against one of the greatest quarterbacks and one of the greatest head coaches in the history of the sport. We're right there with them. But when I was watching the game last night, I was just appreciating the greatness. And it's rare that I do that. I'm not one to, guffaw at Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and all that. I'm not one to do that. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I don't like rooting for them. But it comes, and there does come a point for a lot of fans, and maybe never for some. Maybe there's always that grudge or that hatred, and you'll never appreciate that. I'm sure there's people like that with Michael Jordan. If you're a Utah Jazz fan, right? Never going to root for Michael Jordan. Ever. Not going to buy Jordans. No. Not going to. Sure, there's Warriors fans that'll never root for LeBron. Cavs fans that'll never root for Kevin Durant or Steph Curry. Celtics never rooting for the Kobe and Larry Bird, vice versa. That happens. But just watching Patrick Mahomes, even when he doesn't have his A game, but he still finished at 20 of 28, 291 yards, touchdown and a pick. He's just on another level. And you saw that going up against the MVP of the league, the reigning MVP, two-time MVP, Lamar Jackson. Lamar finished 26-41, 273 yards passing. He had 122 yards rushing. Pretty incredible. Almost 400 yards of total offense for Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry, it's okay. Got a touchdown. I think that was Guru's prize pick. So Goo's on a roll, ladies and gentlemen. Got the bird song under. He's got Derrick Henry over. Goo's crushing it.
I lost. I'm out.
That was a dramatic effect. I thought I hit it sooner. But it's fine. Don't be afraid of silence sometimes. That's what my radio teacher always used to say, but I've found in the business, especially in sports talk radio, they don't want you to have the silence. Unless there's something really awkward that happens. That's funny. But even then, you gotta dump. When you have 5 or 6 seconds of dead air, you have got to dump. And for those of you who don't know what dump is, we have a delay and we have 2 6-second delays back to back. So 12 seconds overall And if you hit one dump, you erase the last 6 seconds of what just happened. Double dump, 12 seconds. Triple dump. Oof. Don't get me started on triple dumps. Don't want to do that. And probably people are waking up like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What I am talking about is NFL Week 1 officially being underway. And it was a dramatic thing because, you know what? We had a rain delay. We had a lightning delay. I was like, oh my God, I just want my football. I just want to sit down, relax, and watch some football. And we finally got it. And it's the Chiefs doing what the Chiefs do. Winning again. Chiefs haven't lost since Christmas Day of last year. Christmas is in another 3 months. Chiefs haven't lost since Christmas Day of last year. And you look at their schedule coming up. They got the Bengals, Falcons, Chargers, Saints. It's not easy. Like, this is a first place schedule for the Kansas City Chiefs. It really is one. Burrow. Atlanta's not going to be some, you can't sleep on them. That's going to be Sunday Night Football. Chargers in division. That's going to be tough. Saints, great defense. Although they're playing Derek Carr, and I believe Derek Carr has only beaten Patrick Mahomes one time in his career. Once. And that was the pandemic year, and John Gruden did a wheels on the bus go round and around. By the way, John Gruden, former head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders, apparently he's back on YouTube. He's trying to get back in the social media game. He's doing his Gruden breakdowns. He's doing all that. And I know one Stephen Langford is very excited about that, just so he can do Gruden impressions again. I'll say this when it comes to John Gruden. What he did, what he said, the emails, it's all just unfortunate because I really did enjoy his breakdowns as a broadcaster. I thought he's just a funny character, and he's just entertaining. The guy won a Super Bowl. I know you want to say, oh, it was Tony Dungy's team, it was the defense. The guy won a Super Bowl, and he was a really good coach early on with the Oakland Raiders. Then he got kind of average once he lost a lot of the talent on defense from those Bucs teams. Could never really develop another quarterback. Didn't work out, obviously, in Las Vegas. But there is part of me that misses him in the booth. I just don't think we're going to get to the point where he comes back to like an Amazon Prime or an NBC or an ESPN or anything like that. So his YouTube page, I'll look into it potentially, but yeah, Gruden, I don't think the comeback is near for him. Although I'm sure Mark Davis tried his best to keep him in Las Vegas, and thank God that contract's over. 888-957-9570. Good morning to all you lovely people just getting off work, getting ready for work, getting ready for the weekend. It is a holiday weekend. No, it's not Labor Day, but it is Week 1, and it's all going to be leading up to Niners, Jets. And when you were watching last night's game, Niners fan, how bad do you still want the Kansas City Chiefs? Is that the team? If you could play anyone in the Super Bowl right now, I'm giving you the Niners in the Super Bowl, Niners fans. Who do you want to play? Who do you want? You want the Chiefs? You want the Bills? You want the Bengals? Ravens? Who do you want? Niners fans, 888-957-9570 is the number. And man, again, I was just watching last night. I'm in awe of Patrick Mahomes. What he does, it makes you jealous that your quarterback was like that. And Brock Purdy was amazing last year. Lamar Jackson was amazing last year. Those are like the two MVP candidates. That Christmas Day matchup was basically for the MVP award when the Ravens came in and kicked Brock Purdy's ass. But they're not Mahomes. No one is. And I don't even know if there's been this big of a gap between the best quarterback and the second best. I do believe there's a massive gap there. You can have your Josh Allens, you can have your Joe Burrows, Lamar Jacksons. If you want to throw in Justin Herbert, I don't know why he always gets tossed in the conversation, but sure. I cannot remember a time where the gap between the best quarterback and the second best was this wide. Even with Tom Brady. And I'm a Tom Brady guy. He's the GOAT, the greatest I've ever seen. But even when Tom was on his game, you had Aaron Rodgers, right? You had a Ben Roethlisberger winning Super Bowls. You had Peyton Manning. And I don't think the gap was that big between all those guys. Specifically between Manning and Tom at their peak and Aaron Rodgers, I toss in. Roethlisberger, he fell off, but I do think we sleep on just how good he was in his prime. His body broke down, took a lot of hits. It is what it is. But what we're witnessing right now, I don't think it's a golden age of quarterbacks. Maybe it is. Maybe you want to call it that. Maybe it's a golden age of just offenses in the NFL and that the quarterbacks are just looking a lot better than they used to just because of the rules, because of where we're at in college football. Everything's catered towards offense. You look at all the top teams. You look at the guys that have won the Super Bowl. Andy Reid, offensive mastermind, right? Doug Peterson, offensive guy under Andy Reid. Obviously, Bill Belichick, defensive guy, won a lot. Tom Coughlin, yada, yada, yada. But 888-957-9570, Oreo Cookie from Oaktown, the town business, wants to join in on the conversation. What's up, Oreo? How's your Friday going, bud?
Hey, good morning, man. Yeah, I started my Friday a little bit extra early today, which is good. I get to be out early.
Yes, sir.
But as far as being scared of anyone, I don't think we are scared of anyone. I do want the Chiefs again. The thing that I always see when I'm looking at those games is it looks like we're going to win, but we just need a little bit more luck, more health, and better decision-making. And given that, I think we can beat anyone. I got a quick question for you. Got a fantasy question.
Oh, yeah.
This year, who are you rooting for which you hate to play against, but is on your team? You want him to do good.
Oh, that's funny. That's a good one.
This year, I picked up Mahomes, and I don't like the guy, but I also like to win.
Yeah, he didn't probably have a great fantasy performance last night. He didn't hit the 300-yard. He only had one touchdown. What did he score, like 15 or something points?
Yeah, about 15 points. I was rooting for a tie at the end of the game, so, he can get a little bit more points. But That's what fantasy football does, man. It puts you against people.
Well, I'll tell you this, Oreo, and I appreciate the call, 888-957-9570. Who do you want the Niners? The Niners are in the Super Bowl right now. And you could choose any team to go up against. Who are you choosing to play? Oreo Cookie's not scared of anyone. He wants the Chiefs. He wants them bad. Do you want a rematch against that team? 888-957-9570 as we watch them defeat the Baltimore Ravens in the first game of the 2024-2025 regular season here in the NFL. And we got another game tonight, by the way. Packers-Eagles from Brazil. Cannot wait for that. Locked in. But is there a player? I'm only in one league this year. I didn't do anything else. I just did one league. Didn't do it with my family. I just did 95-7 league. There's no one on my squad because I know everyone loves fantasy football and hearing me talk about it. No one I hate on my team. I got Caleb Williams, A.J. Brown, Brandon Ayuk. Got Brandon Ayuk late, by the way. Which our 95-7 the game employees here scared that this was going to leak into the regular season. Got a steal of a player. Kyron Williams, Raheem Mostert, Sam Laporta, Zay Flowers. Got me 11 points yesterday. Zamir White. Although I did a trade already with one Matt Steinmetz, who I think auto-drafted on accident TJ Hawkinson, who's out for the first 4 games. That was his tight end. So he doesn't have a tight end. He also doesn't have one of his running backs. He has like 3 quarterbacks or something ridiculous. So I'm trading him Freiermuth, who's the number 1 tight end over in Pittsburgh. And I'm also trading Zamir White, who's the number 1 running back for the Raiders, for Terry McLaurin and TJ Hawkinson. I'm just such a nice guy, aren't I? Don't say I swindled him. He needed starters. You get what you get. But there's no one on my team that I hate rooting for. And even Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's the thing, too. At the end of the day, we might sports hate these people, but if I have $1,000 on Patrick Mahomes to do something for me, yeah, I'm a Patrick Mahomes fan at that point. Win me money, Pat. Please. Travis Kelce, do your thing. Yeah, whenever there's money involved, the sports fandom goes to the side. I want my money, and I want my money now. Call JG Wentworth, 877-CASH now. There you go. Those commercials are still the same, by the way. They haven't updated those in 20-plus years. It's still on Maury all the time, or Jerry Springer. R.I.P. Jerry Springer. No longer with us. Steve Wilkos, that's another one. By the way, we'll get back into the NFL, and I know today's all about football. We got the roasters coming in, 8:30 today. Cannot wait for that. Breakfast with the Roast today. 20 people are coming in. 10 winners, plus 10 guests. It's going to be a great time. Bonte, Chasky, Loveman, we're all excited. Giants got a win yesterday, and it's great. They salvaged the series and ended up getting swept. The 4-game sweep would have been disastrous, although I already felt like this was a disaster series anyways. But nonetheless, Ryan Walker comes in clutch at the end there, gets 3 Ks, and they needed it desperately. They shut the door. They got the win. All right. Farhan Zaidi spoke to the media yesterday. Matt Chapman gets that $160 million extension. He's here to stay in San Francisco. But I wanted to hear what Farhan had to say in regards to his future. That is what I'm interested in. Did this move signify that Farhan's here to stay? Does it signify that the Giants are still making moves with him and he might be a lame duck GM, president of baseball ops, whatever the hell you want to call him? What did that Chapman signing signify to the Giants fan? Well, here's Farhan speaking yesterday, and we'll get back into football. But I do want to listen to what this man, who has drawn a lot of anger and anxiety from the orange and black fan base, Farhan Zaidi's opening statement yesterday.
When we signed the deal back in spring training, and I think Matt commented, the goal is to have a great year and to be talking about an extension in mid-August, and I think you nailed that to a T. So, thinking back to why we were so excited to bring Matt here in the first place, I think he's delivered all that and more, just in terms of our goals this past offseason of adding more consistency to the lineup, upgrading our defense, just having a guy who can be a leader on and off the field. I think Matt has, as high esteem as we held him in based on, Bob's history with him, my history with him, he even exceeded those expectations, and we just got to the point where it was hard to imagine the Giants in 2025 and beyond without Matt Chapman at third base.
Farhan, how'd this deal come together?
We did start our conversations 2 or 3 weeks ago. I recognize, and I think there have been some comments that the timing is a little bit unusual this close to free agency, but I think it's a testament to our motivation and how important we feel Matt is to the future of this organization. And hopefully Matt's happiness with the situation here and what we feel like we can build together. So, again, couldn't be more excited. A deal like this obviously doesn't come together without a lot of communication and support at the ownership level. They couldn't have been more enthusiastic about keeping Matt in the fold. I know how excited our manager is that he's going to have his guy here for the next few years. Really just delighted. And again, thinking back to this spring when we did this deal, we're a team that's trying to compete every year. And when we have an opportunity to get a great player who's willing to bet on himself, that's always an attractive proposition to us. And that's what Matt did. He bet on himself, and he got a very deserving reward today. And again, I think we're really excited about what the future holds for Matt and the Giants.
By the way, shout out all my guys at the Last Dive Bar. Carl, Brian, everyone over there, hooking me up with this awesome final Battle of the Bay t-shirt. I was there that weekend, a couple weekends ago. Sam Lubman was there. I think he got one as well. So shout out all my guys there. Last Dive Bar. Appreciate you. Sick shirt. I'll remember it forever. Sucks that we have to end it this way. Wish the A's were staying, but they're not. The Collie will stay, though. Last Dive Bar will not be going anywhere because you know what? We got the Oakland Roots playing there next year. And yeah, I'll be locked into my soccer. All right? Let's go, baby. I'll root for everything Bay Area soccer. Doesn't matter. SF, Oakland. We need to be growing the game here in America. We got the World Cup coming. We need to be better. Let's go, people. I'm fired up, though. Not about the Matt Chapman signing. It was fine. It was great. Fun Giants win yesterday. At least they did something. But I'm fired up about football. I really am. And we'll get back to it after this last one because you know what? This is the one. This is the one, the question. A lot of Giants fans, like the future of Farhan Zaidi. Here's Farhan trying to dissuade talking about any of that.
Farhan, despite the extension, there has been some speculation about your future. Does this, the fact that you're making a long-term move like this give you the confidence that you're here to stay?
Look, I appreciate the question, but today is really about Matt. It's about celebrating this deal, big day for the Giants and the organization. So appreciate the question, but I'd like to keep our focus there. Thanks.
Dodger, Dodger, Dodger!
He did dodge the question. Dodged it. Once a Dodger, always a Dodger. It's funny because nice guy Stephen Langford, formerly the pregame show, now with KCBS, he came into the producer studio. She's like, did you hear Lubman's question? It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, Sam's out there. He asked the question about Farhan's future. It's like, what? And then like 5 minutes later, Sam walks in. I was like, wow, you were down at the presser that fast? Jesus. Sam, like the Flash. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, Steven just said he heard you ask a question. He's like, that wasn't me. So, Steve, fix your ears, buddy. All those random music festivals you're going to, it's finally taking its toll. We always have, peeling the curtain back, we always have like some extra tickets sometimes to like indie shows around here. And I swear to God, Stephen Langford claims up all of them. There is no one that likes an obscure band more than one Stephen Langford. All right. Back to football. Kyle Shanahan. It's got a lot riding on the season. Maybe the most, according to some, like Peter Schrager, the NFL Network. Kyle Shanahan, I'm not going to say he's on the hot seat because I don't know where that report, I refuse to buy that because he's been to 2 Super Bowls with 2 different quarterbacks. You can't be on the hot seat right after the Super Bowl loss. Not that year. At the very least, look, can we let this year play out and then next year we'll see where we're at? But he's not on the hot seat. But he is speaking to the media. And I did want to start here because we did have something just happen 6 days ago that I feel like, not that we're sweeping under the rug because it was a big story and then he's okay now physically, but Ricky Pearsall got shot last Saturday. And I want to hear from the coach on all of that and just the craziness of that weekend, because obviously the Ayuk thing happened prior to that. Trent Williams is now back. But sandwiched in between those was Ricky Pearsall fighting for his life. Here's Shanahan talking about the timeline of all of that.
It was really tough. We didn't know exactly, we just knew that he got shot, and that was all we knew. And then it took us about an hour to figure out what the hospital was and things like that, because he just made a couple calls to people, so we had it from them, but none of us knew where he was or anything. And this was, it's like at 3:30. By the time that we got to him, it was good because by the time we found out where he was, we got to him. It was real cool. He FaceTimed me. That was like the first time I knew he was all right. I got a call like 20 minutes before that saying he was conscious, he was talking, that he was going to survive and all that. But then he FaceTimed me right after from his bed. It was real upbeat. Like it was really amazing because that hour, when you hear about a shooting, we didn't know where it was or anything. So you just assume the worst. Then to hear it was in the chest. You don't think that usually goes that well. And then actually to talk to him like 15 minutes after that and just talk to a guy that seems like he's okay. Obviously, he's got a bad, horrible injury, and there's a huge mental side that'll go to that he's got to work through for a while. But it was a lot of emotions.
It's just crazy. The whole thing. He's lucky to be alive. We're lucky that he's still alive to be here, be a part of the team. He's going to miss the first 4 games, obviously, but hopefully after that he can contribute at some point this season. It's just one of those things that you'll never forget. But at the same time, it feels like we've well, football's back. Yeah. But that's what life is, right? It goes on. And the more time passes, you hope that Ricky mentally will get better through it, because that's what you worry about at this point is just the mentals more than anything else. And here's Kyle Shanahan talking about his recovery.
Kind of been amazing just watching him. I'm getting to see him Sunday, Monday, for him to be able to walk around and stuff with that happening. Talking to the people at the ER, saying out of like 100 people, 2 people have survived that. And to be able to see him the next day and just that he's able to walk, he's coming to meetings, he's doing all that. But, he wants to go a while, a week or so without trying to work up a sweat. And then after that, he'll start his rehab and progress again back.
So Pearsall working his way back, obviously. Hope to see him at some point in the future here this season. Maybe he can be a contributor. I would like to see his chemistry with Brock Purdy at least start to develop at some point, because I'm not expecting him to be a huge contributor, but you would like for Pearsall to get some reps and get some familiarity with this offense going forward, because you know what? After a season, things change. Maybe he could be the wide receiver 1 or 2 next season. So from Pearsall to Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan. What's it like having Ayuk back at camp?
And they resolved themselves perfect, like just back to normal. So you don't want, things get tough, especially when it can go a number of directions. That's what I was saying to you guys from the beginning. It could have gone a number of directions. There was times they possibly could be traded. There was times he could possibly be here. That was hard about the whole negotiation thing, and that is what made it different than usual. We never gone through it being so close both ways. And for it to end up working out here that, in the beginning, we wanted him here, BA wanted to be here, and we all wanted to make that work out. And really, in the end, that was still the case. And you got to go through that and make sure you're talking to people as humans, and both sides need to understand when you're talking that way, you're not negotiating. You're trying to tell each other how you truly feel. And when that is the same way as it was 6 months before that, those things are easy to get over. You just got to make sure that's truly how you feel. And you could feel that leading into it the last few days. I think that's what made it easier to close it and get it done those last couple days. And that's been awesome ever since, like nothing ever happened.
Gonna take a quick break. Come on back. More Shanahan reaction, more of your reaction. 888-957-9570. What games are you locked on this weekend? And my question today, after the Kansas City Chiefs won last night, you still want them, Niner fans? You still want, if you could get to the Super Bowl right now, if I just magically just say, you know what, Niners are going to be in the Super Bowl next year, who do you want? 888-957-9570. We'll get to that on the other side. It's a Phil Collins Friday. It's a non-payday Friday, but it's NFL Week 1 Friday. We got Eagles-Packers tonight. Whew, can't wait. Come on back. 95.7 The Game.
Joe Spadoni. You're listening to the Pregame Show with Joe Spadoni, right here on 95.7 The Game.
Thank you, Bonte. Bonte Joshowski. At the top of the hour, from 6 to 10, morning roast. We got the roasters coming in. 8:30, breakfast with the roast. Brought to you by Jackson. I should say courtesy, because they're bringing food. Phil Collins Friday. We're feeling good. Chiefs, do what the Chiefs do. They got the win over the Ravens. They're just inevitable. Like Lamar could have one of the great games, rushing for 100, almost throwing for 3, and just doesn't matter. How did we allow the Chiefs to get Tyreek Hill 2.0? How did we do that as a society? We finally was rid of him, and yeah, he's already proven twice in a row he doesn't need Tyreek to win it, but now they got Xavier Worthy, and he's, his first touch, he gets a touchdown. And he leaks out into the secondary, gets another. It's just, they're gonna do it again, aren't they? They're gonna win 3 freaking Super Bowls in a row. Just unbelievable. And the guy that has predicted like the correct Super Bowl winner and matchup the last like 3 of the 4 last year, like Peter Schrager, NFL Network. I think we've been talking a lot about Peter Schrager this week. Great at what he does. Good Morning Football host, NFL Network. But he's accurately predicted the Super Bowl matchup like 3 years in a row, I want to say. Whether it was the Eagles, Chiefs, Niners, Chiefs. And now this year, he's got, who was it? Packers, Chiefs? I think it was the Packers, Chiefs. It doesn't matter. He's got the Chiefs winning. He's got the Chiefs 3-peat. Not to say that it's going to happen, but right now, make a pretty good bet about it. Make a pretty good bet. But the Niners, they're going to be the last game of the weekend, not the first game like the Chiefs last night. They got Aaron Rodgers on deck. And Marty Lyons, who used to be the color commentator for the radio side of the New York Jets radio network, obviously a college football legend with Alabama Crimson Tide, was part of the New York Sack Exchange. Him, Mark Gastineau, Joe Klecko, tremendous player. And here he is yesterday, courtesy of the River Islands guest line on 95.7 The Game, joining Bonte and Chasky, talking about Aaron Rodgers and his health.
Well, I've seen him warm up before the preseason games, and I saw him over at training camp, and it seems like he's recovered 100%. He can roll out. He can still spin the ball. And the most important thing to me, what a great leader he is, because he inspires his teammates. And it's not just on the offensive side of the ball, it's on the defensive side of the ball. So they have a great opportunity. Monday night, everybody else is going to be watching. Let's showcase your talent. Let's go out there and try to win this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to fall for the okie doke that, Aaron Rodgers needs to get his legs under him. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to look like Aaron Rodgers in week 1. Now, you're hoping if you're a 49ers fan, he looks like the Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, not the regular season, because in the regular season, he has been known to rip out your soul or rip out your heart like in Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom and show it to your face. That's what he's been known to do. But in the playoffs against you, goose egg, diddly poo, hasn't done anything. This is of all the games this weekend, the Niners-Jets is definitely the most fascinating to me. It really is. I'm looking at it right now, NFL week 1, and you could have said the AFC Championship yesterday. That's fine. And maybe today's the only other one, as my space bar gets locked. Like, Packers-Eagles is fascinating on a multitude of levels because outside of the Lions and Niners, those would be the consensus top 2 other contenders in the conference for a Super Bowl. But they have question marks. I need to see more from Jordan Love than half a season. He was great. He was amazing. But I can't get that first half out of my mind. And the Eagles, again, what are they, 10-0? And then the Niners came in and kicked their ass and they were never the same. So there's question marks there. I get Jason Kelce questioning Jalen Hurts' leadership now. Jason Kelce obviously retired, but he was the leader of that offense for a long time as the center. And he's a future Hall of Famer. That's not good. Can you grow into being a better leader? Sure. Jalen Hurts, was he a quarter away from winning a Super Bowl, and are we questioning that? Probably not. But there's question marks there. But I'm looking at the rest of the matchups this week. You got your, Steelers, Falcons, Bills, Cardinals, interesting. Texans, Colts, Anthony Richardson, fun. Titans, Bears, I want to see Caleb. Dolphins, Jaguars. Trevor just got paid. Tua just got paid. Let's see. Then you got your Browns, Cowboys. Okay, got Tom Brady calling the game. I'm actually more interested in that than the actual game itself between Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott. I'll tell you that. Rams, Lions, Sunday Night Football. That's probably the third best I would go in this remaining schedule. I'd go Jets, Niners. I'd go Packers, Eagles, and then I'd go Rams, Lions. That's my hierarchy of best games of the weekend, best slates, outside of your favorite team, because you're biased. We're not going to do that. No one's putting the Raiders, Chargers there up on top. But I'm interested to see Jim Harbaugh, Antonio Pierce, Justin Herbert, Gardner Minshew. It's going to be interesting. They got the A Crew, too, on CBS. I think that's Nance and Romo doing the Raiders, Chargers. Interesting. Down at SoFi, which is basically going to be a Raiders home game. But 49ers, Jets. And I liked what Marty Lyons had to say yesterday on the Morning Roast, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. We should have a non-conference opponent week one. Kind of like how they do it in college. You see SC versus LSU. That's cool. Clemson, Georgia. I like that. Jets not miss me with the division in the first week. You got Raiders, Chargers. I'm fine with that. I don't need that. I feel like that's been an AFC West opponent 3 straight years in a row for one of those teams. But then you got a team like the Titans and Bears. I get it. Not the sexiest of names with the Titans, but Caleb Williams, Will Levis, 2 young quarterbacks. I'm interested to see what happens. And then, yes, you have some good inter-conference matchups. Rams, Lions, Packers, Eagles. That's great. But I kind of do like that non-conference week one, get a taste of the AFC's best, the NFC's best, go at it. I like that idea. Marty Lyons also likes that the Jets are on the road to open up the season. He thinks there's not a lot of pressure on New York opening up on the road in San Francisco. The Niners are going to be under all the pressure. And that is an interesting dynamic to this. The team under more pressure this season to perform and to succeed at a high level. You got the Jets, right? You've got Aaron Bleepin Rodgers, who lasted all but a series on Monday Night Football last year on September 11th between the Bills and the Jets, and what was really a cool scene, just being out there, and is obviously Jersey. I know they call it New York, but it was in Jersey, but nonetheless, it was cool. And then torn Achilles out for the year. That just put a damper on everything. Although the game itself ended up being pretty cool because Jets won it on a walk-off punt return touchdown. But the pressure of playing in New York City, whether it's the Giants, the Jets, the Mets, the Yankees, the pressure under Rob Saleh, the pressure under Aaron Rodgers, under this team to succeed, because you got the players. You've got the defense. You've got Mike Williams. You've got Garrett Wilson. Question mark at tight end. But you've got one of the greatest quarterbacks of his generation, Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if he's 40 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. Has the arm changed? Did he hurt his shoulder? I don't think so. The guy can flick it and he's fine. If he has to turn into Tom Brady, I'm sure he's fine with that because he can play within the pocket just fine. Mobility, I am not worried about with Aaron Rodgers. On the flip side, you look at the Niners. I mean, there's pressure galore. You just re-signed Trent Williams, you re-signed Christian McCaffrey, you re-signed Brandon Ayuk, you re-signed Juwan Jennings. You've already locked up Nick Bosa last year. You've locked up Fred Warner. You've locked up George Kittle. You've locked up Deebo Samuel, who restructured his contract. You've been to the Super Bowl twice under Kyle Shanahan. 2 different quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo is now gone. And now you got Brock Purdy. There's an immense amount of pressure on them. I can make the argument per conference, AFC, NFC, those 2 teams on Monday night probably are under the most pressure to perform this year. Not the Jets, or check that, not the Dolphins, not the Bills. Hell, not even the Chiefs. I'm not buying that the Chiefs are under pressure. Pressure to do what? 3-peat? Oh, if they don't do that, I'm so sorry for you. Please.
Joe, I hate them.
They're inevitable. Shasky, as we're doing a makeshift crossover.
I have to come right in.
No, I said the same thing. They haven't lost since Christmas of last year.
They run their team like a Madden team. Every time they have a hole, they're like, oh, wait a minute. Outside receiver with speed? Yeah, we'll get the fastest guy ever.
They got Tyreek Hill again, basically.
I mean, the only thing that's slowing them down is if Rashee Rice actually goes to jail for joyriding with 9 of his homies doing 180 miles per hour. Like, he looked incredible. Everyone, the year to beat them was last year. They're right.
Yeah.
And Baltimore's a great team. The Baltimore's got great personnel.
You know why I feel bad if I'm Baltimore yesterday? Because I don't think the Chiefs played very well either. I think that was like a B- performance from the Kansas City Chiefs. And they still won by a touchdown.
I'm convinced, and I mean this with all, they're not going to do it because no one would do it. If they wanted to win every single game, I think they could.
They probably could. Yeah. It's also hard, but they like
Chris Jones is an all-time player.
All-time. Travis Kelce's an all-time player.
How about the 3 linebackers?
Yeah.
Chenault, Bolton, and Karlaftis. I know we forget about it.
Karlaftis was sick in the Super Bowl, too.
They're just really good players. They hit you hard. And then their secondary, they lose a guy, Snead, and it's like, did they skip a beat?
Trent McDuffie's a baller.
And Baltimore's good.
Baltimore's really good. Lamar was really good yesterday. It was a dime at the end of the game. If Isaiah Likely went to ballet school, then maybe they go walk. I do think they would have gone for 2 had they got that touchdown.
You know what? I love that boldness.
Yeah.
Because you're not beating them in overtime.
No, hell no, you're not beating them in overtime.
But that goes back to you can't give the ball to Mahomes. I mean, it's literally, I was thinking about Shanahan while Harbaugh's going for that.
Look what's on my phone that popped up on YouTube. It's Chiefs shocked 49ers took the ball. It just popped up on my YouTube.
Joe, he's one of the greatest players ever. This is what it's like when people watched Barry Bonds on the other side. This is what it's like when they watch Steph Curry on the other side. And the fit with him and Andy Reid. Andy Reid went over to the bench and they're just kind of talking. And I'm just like, they were made to play together.
I cannot think of a wider gap right now. And I know a lot of people, you love Josh Allen. There's Joe Burrow.
There's
Lamar.
A lot of great players. Lamar is one of the greatest talents the game has ever seen.
I don't think there's been this big of a gap between the greatest quarterback and then the next best quarterback in the NFL in quite some time. Brady, even when you had Brady at his peak, Rodgers was winning MVPs too. He's right there. Like Lamar won the MVP last year, but no one thought that Lamar was on Patrick Mahomes' level last year.
He's not.
He's not. Like,
and he's one of the greatest talents I've ever seen.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Burrow's probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
On a field of freaks, he looks like he is the 18-year-old against a bunch of 13-year-olds, doesn't he? Chris Jones is an old-time player. By the way, Chris Jones, I'm going to go up against you, the left guard. No, you know what? I'm going to go find that guy, the right tackle. Chris Jones is unreal.
I mean, he's the quintessential defensive tackle. Now Aaron Donald's gone, it's Chris Jones. And even with Aaron Donald last year, Chris Jones is probably still the best defensive tackle. That's just how good he was. And it even heightens it more right now. And I think about the Niners, Joe Shasky. The defensive line needs to step up big time this year.
Well, there's no doubt.
That's what I was watching yesterday. Like, I need Hargrave to do something this year alongside Nick Bosa.
No, 100% defensive personnel. I do think the Niners have something that very few teams have. Their secondary, it's a league of weapons. Like, that's one thing, like, defense. You're not wrong. You do need to get stops. And defensive line is very important. You just got to get enough stops. It's not about, like, slowing teams down anymore. Like, oh, you're going to hold them to 12.
There's no 2000 Ravens, Bucks teams. No. Bend, don't break.
Exactly. And then offensively, you have to have unreal firepower. Like, Baltimore is one receiver short. Can we agree?
Yeah, I have Zay Flowers in fantasy. He was solid, but yeah, they need someone else.
They're a receiver short. I look over at Kansas City and I'm like, all right, they bring in Juju Smith-Schuster, who drops a touchdown pass. All right, they got Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice looked sick last night. He looked really good in the slot. And then they've got Noah Gray backing up Travis Kelce with Isaiah Pacheco.
Just signed him to an extension before the game.
That's great weaponry, right?
Yes.
And even then, they're young. They haven't even hit their stride. The Niners have to have the weaponry. I think, thank God they kept IU, because I'm looking. You have to score 35 against the Chiefs, right? You have to, because Baltimore held them to 27,
held them.
And if they got the ball back with 20 seconds left, did anyone think they weren't going to march right down and score a field goal?
That's just what they do. Harrison Butker, say what you will about him. Off the field, he's a clutch kicker. He has the longest field goal in the history of the NFL in the Super Bowl. So that's Joe Shasky.
Oh, I've got so much.
I know.
on this.
Football's
And
back.
If I watch Mahomes tiptoe back inbounds, that's the other thing. They have to change the rule. If you're going to go down the sideline and tiptoe, I'm sorry. There should be a 3-yard buffer.
Yeah.
You should get blasted.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to fake go out of bounds and then tiptoe back in, it's impossible for the defense. It's not fair.
Well, that's why I appreciate what guys like Max Crosby. He'll lay him out. He'll let him know. I don't care.
It shouldn't be a 15-yard penalty.
It shouldn't be a 15-yarder. No.
It's an unfair rule.
That's Joe Shasky. He's coming up next segment. Bonte Hill. Cannot wait for that. They're going to be breaking it all down. They got breakfast with the roast this morning, too. They're going to be hanging out with some listeners. It's going to be a fun day here. Phil Collins Friday. One more segment on the pregame show, 95.7 The Game.
It's the pregame show with Spadoni, my homies, yeah.
Love me a makeshift crossover like the old days. Thanks, Joe Shasky. He's fired up, man. He's fired up for some football. Watching that game last night, it gets the juices flowing again for Niners fans. Not in a good way. Like that SOB Patrick Mahomes. God, he's so good, but I hate him. I hate how good he is. I feel it. I do. I've been there many a times. That's how a lot of people, Niner fans / Warrior fans, feel about Steph Curry. God, I hate how good that guy is. Like, the Stephen Curry, Patrick Mahomes comps are always so fascinating to me because they both did change the game and they made it just so dynamic in their own way. Now, people have been doing what Patrick Mahomes has been doing slightly, like to an extent, like Aaron Rodgers, the arm, Brett Favre prior to that. If you want to go even prior to that, I'd have to go deep in my bag in the 70s and 80s for quarterbacks. Dan Marino, probably, right? With just the flick of the wrist, just that the compact motion, the arm strength, all of that. Steph did change the game that no one, to the likes no one's ever seen before. But the showmanship, the inevitability factor, it's right there. And we're watching it, and we're witnessing it, and it's just incredible. I got to just get you just got to tip your cap sometimes. It's okay to do that. As much as we don't want to, as much as we hate doing that as fans, I'll never do that. Got to appreciate greatness when you see it. Patrick Mahomes, it's all time. And if he gets his third in a row, then it's him and Brady, and that's it. That's it. Sorry, Joe. 3 in a row. It's Mahomes. I'm sure Joe Montana won't tell you that. I think Joe Montana during the Super Bowl week last year, he was saying, I think he thinks Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback of all time. That's fine. I do think Dan Marino does get, like, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl, the fact that he is mentioned as a top 10 quarterback of all time still is actually pretty incredible. Just a testament to him and how amazing he was. I wish I was alive to watch him play at a high level because I was alive in his later years, but I digress. All right. 888-957-9570. We got about 6 minutes left here before handing off to Bonta Hill and Joe Shasky. I've gotten some here, and the question this morning was, if the 49ers are in the Super Bowl, who do you want this next year? If the 49ers make the Super Bowl, who is it? 650, I want the Chiefs. I want revenge badly. From the 415, give me anyone but the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes frightens me. It's the duality of man. Shout out Full Metal Jacket and Joker. The duality of man, sir. There's part of you that wants to slay the dragon, but there's also a part of you it's just like, yeah, why don't we duck through this cave real quick? I'm going to roll my dice here, Dungeons and Dragons style, and get past. And we don't have to worry about it. And then we'll go fight the wizard or something. And that could be the Cincinnati Bengals in this thing I'm talking about, whatever I'm talking about. Like, I get it. It's tough. Speaking of tough, we're talking about Stephen Curry. Well, how about LeBron James? You guys want to hear what LeBron James thinks is going to be the Super Bowl matchup? Might be a rematch.
I got Baltimore coming out of AFC. I'm not counting out Patty Mahomes. It's like you'd never count out Tom Brady, obviously. But I just feel like this could be Baltimore's year. They got Derrick Henry, man, one of my favorite players in the NFL. They brought him in, and I got the Niners going back. I just think the Niners, man, they just, they're right there. They're right there. Another year under Brock Purdy's belt and the rest of those guys, because that's a hell of a 1-2 punch with Debo and Brandon Ayuk. I think it'll be a rematch of Niners in Baltimore. Final score, man, I don't know. I just want to see a great one. I love NFL guys. I don't want to be on somebody's bad terms. So
there you got it. The King James, Niners Ravens Super Bowl. Lock it in. Does that make you feel better or worse, Niner fans, that LeBron James is picking you to go back to the Super Bowl? 888-957-9570. You should feel flattered, right? You should feel flattered. It's been the summer of Steph and LeBron. The Olympics, they're feeling great. Steph's out in New York. What do Steph? I know Steph's a big Carolina Panthers fan. He's probably just hoping Bryce Young just improves at all this year under first-year head coach Dave Canales coming over from Tampa Bay. So we'll see. Again, my Super Bowl prediction, I gave it yesterday. I like to do my predictions all before the first game of the season because I don't want to shift. I don't want to get spoiled or anything. So I had Chiefs, Eagles is my Super Bowl matchup. And I think the Chiefs are going to three-peat, which is not sexy to say. It's just reality. I mean, how can you not watch last night's game and think this team is not going to three-peat? When they didn't even have their best game, when they got studs all over the field, they got tremendous depth. Who's beating that team? The Niners? Well, they'll have the opportunity. Week 7, Sunday, October 20th, at Levi's Stadium. That's the game you're circling right now. That's the one. I'm looking at all the ticket prices because they show it when you look at the demand on tickets on ESPN and the schedule and stuff like that. The 2 most expensive games on the schedule for the Chiefs, it's the Niners. Tickets as low as $300 for week 7. And then right after that, they play the Raiders, but that's Las Vegas. It's Las Vegas tax. $318. Raiders might sneaky if that's a tough game for the Chiefs. Raiders might be able to steal one. The last team to beat them on Christmas Day last year, Las Vegas. It's kind of crazy. I don't think their quarterback completed a pass outside of the first quarter. But that's how you beat them. You got to punch them in the mouth. And Baltimore's defense was just not good enough yesterday. Can San Francisco's beat this season? I'm looking at Nick Bosa. I'm looking at Javon Hargrave. Can Hargrave step up? Can he? I'm looking at Leonard Floyd. Is he going to feast off the double teams that are going to be commanded by one Nick Bosa? I'm not worried about Leonard Floyd. I'm not worried about Nick Bosa this year. It's everyone else on that defensive line that needs to step up. And part of the ramifications of not stepping up there is your secondary getting gassed. So you need to set that up, allow guys like Talanoa Hufanga to come back and be free-ranging, be able to be a ball hawk back there, forcing quarterbacks to throw it before they want to. And that's when good things happen for Charvarius Ward, for Hufanga, for Lenore, for Thomas, for everyone. I know Thomas is out. We got about a minute here. So 888-957-957. I want you guys to start lining them up for the morning roast. Because Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky are fired up. Shasky's golfing today. He's got the Pentinelli tournament going on there. It's really cool. It's brought to you by ATCO Pest Control. They're doing a lot for autism awareness, autism growth, all of that. So shout out Joe for participating in that. And also we got Bonte locked in. He's all tripped up in the San Francisco 49ers gear. We got breakfast with the roast coming up at 8:30. 10 of the lucky listeners that won bring in a guest. So we got about 20 people in here. Cannot wait to see all of you, hang out with all of you. It's all coming up in a couple hours. But next, it's the morning roast on a Phil Collins Friday, on a non-payday Friday, into 50 Cent Friday here on 95.7 The Game. Have a good weekend, everybody.